Hey guys, hope you're doing great. And I get a chance to talk to some of you guys, which is way cool. But not enough of you. Love to hear from more of you, but I know you guys are busy, hopefully staying in shape. I'm sure you are. You guys are pros, getting ready for whatever's next, right? Whatever's going to be the next thing. So I'm just going to do a little short chaplain time with you guys, and we're going to talk a little bit about faith and where to keep our eyes focused, and what happens sometimes when we lose track of where our eyes are going. When I mean eyes, I mean kind of figuratively. I don't mean literally your eyes, but you'll get what I mean through this passage of scripture. So I'm going to read a passage from the book of Matthew, and this is in the New Testament. And the reason why we use the Bible is because the Bible is an anvil that has worn out many hammers. Okay, and you know what an anvil is they use it to strike down on and to sharpen blades on the anvil. And it's wore out many hammers, meaning there's many hammers that have beat on the Bible, and it just continues to stand the test of time as far as its principles go. And that's why we do it, man, because it changes a lot of people's lives, and for the better. So we're going to talk about a really cool passage. So it says, immediately Jesus and his disciples get into the boat, and they go before him to the other side while he sent the multitudes away. Now, during this time, Jesus was kind of like becoming kind of the person of fame, kind of the hot person in town, if you will. I mean, could you imagine? This whole nation has been built on a promise. And that promise is that one day they wouldn't be any longer oppressed by foreign countries. And if you can think of the place of Israel being as big as New Jersey. Now, I know some of you hockey players are from New Jersey. It's not a big place. And if you can imagine that place of New Jersey, everybody in that town being surrounded by enemies all the time. And that's how the country of Israel is. It's kind of set right there in the middle of the Middle East, and it's surrounded by people that were enemies of Israel. Still is, by the way, right? In many ways. A lot of war always in that section of the world. And so they are looking at Jesus as being the dude who's going to save them out of this oppression. And so they send the multitudes away because the multitudes are crowding and they're just always there. So finally they say, hey, take a break. And when he had sent the multitudes away, he went up on the mountain by himself to pray. Kind of cool, right? You kind of got to go get away a little bit. Does anybody like to get away? Do some hunting, do some golfing, kind of spend a little time away, thinking about life, thinking about maybe direction that you're in or direction you want to be in. So here Jesus goes to the mountain by himself to pray. Isn't that cool? By himself. Sometimes we don't need anybody around us. Sometimes we just need to kind of get away. Sometimes we do need people around us, so we always have to be wise kind of where we're at. Do we need to reach out, or do we need to just have some alone time? So sometimes you have to really discern, kind of that in your life. It says, now when evening came, he was there alone. But the boat was now in the middle of the sea, tossed by the waves, for the wind was contrary. Now the Sea of Galilee is a big sea. And it's kind of like when I went and did a wedding out in past Owen Sound area. And out there, I remember there was a big lake. And it's huge. And I'm not sure the name of it. Maybe like Lake Ontario, or I don't know what it is. But it's big. And I think it's part of the Lake Michigan and all that. I think it's all attached somehow. I could be wrong, but this thing was giant and super fun to play in and get in there. Me being a surfer guy from Southern Cal, it wasn't the surfer kind of waves, but it was really fun. Just really enjoyed being out there But I bet you that sea gets kind of rough. It's so big. I bet you when the wind comes and a storm comes, that can get kind of rough. Now, I don't know for sure, but I would imagine so. The Sea of Galilee does get rough. And it says, and as the waves and the wind blew and all that stuff, it says, now in the fourth watch of the night, so this is really early in the morning, it says, Jesus went to them walking on the sea. And when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were troubled, saying, it is a ghost, and they cried out for fear. And that's probably an understatement. That would have freaked anybody out. It's definitely a Twilight Zone kind of moment. And it says, but immediately Jesus spoke to them, saying, be of good cheer. It is I. Do not be afraid. What I love this is it says immediately. It's like God knows your fear. God knows what you guys are scared of. And we're all scared of something, usually in life. And it's good to know that God knows even our frailty. And a lot of times we like to be men of strength, and that's kind of normal, right? Because a lot of times we need to provide. And, so a lot of times men are breadwinners to their families, and we have to kind of be that person to show a lot of strength. But it's not always necessary to be that person all the time, right? A lot of times there's a lot of frailty with us, and a lot of times it's really it's like a fear in us to show frailty. It's super sad too, right? I mean it's kind of normal that we're people that have fear in our life, and yet a lot of times peer pressure, what we think other people are going to think about us, prevents us from just going to someone and saying, hey, I struggle with this, or this bothers me, and man, I always feel this way, and I'm not sure why, and there's days where you have like depression, you feel melancholy maybe, and there's other people that don't have much depression and they don't feel that at all, and they might be oblivious to other people's trials, But notice that Jesus understands us. Immediately Jesus spoke to them, saying, be of good cheer, it is I, do not be afraid. And Peter answered him and said, Lord, if it is you, command me to come to you on the water. Really bold, right? Peter was a fisherman. This dude was like, fishermen back then were hardcore. They weren't the dudes who were just throwing in the line and kind of on ESPN2, reeling it in. These guys were hardcore, strong dudes, threw out huge nets, tied huge knots, worked with big rope, and the boats back then were rough. I bet you their hands were just torched from all the rope and the wiring and to catch fish, and the boats that were really rough. Just a gnarly dude, and Peter was one of these guys. This was his profession. And so he was really familiar with boats. He was really familiar with the Sea of Galilee. And he says, Jesus, if it's really you, I know you. I know you do special things. And tell me to come walk out to you. Really bold of Peter. And I kind of love that. Peter's kind of that dude who is the guy on the team who's kind of a little bit of a foul mouth. He's kind of that guy. He's always kind of like hand and foot, guy, where he says it and then he thinks after. And I'm sure this was one of those moments. It could have been really out of sarcasm that Peter spoke. And so he said, come. So he hears this, just go. And when Peter had come down out of the boat, he walked on the water to go to Jesus. But when he saw that the wind was boisterous, he was afraid, and he began to sink, and he cried out, saying, Lord, save me. And immediately Jesus stretched out his hand and caught him, and said to him, O you of little faith, why did you doubt? And when they got into the boat, the wind ceased. Now, you get the idea that when Peter got out of the boat, there was something in him that thought, man, this is Jesus. It's going to be okay. And confidence is everything. Man, it certainly is. When you're confident, right? And faith is something, there's a confidence that kind of equates with faith when you have strong faith, right? You have this confidence that things are going to be okay. And Peter was this kind of guy where he was filled with this confidence of like, man, Jesus says it, I'm going to do it. And he makes this step. And, confidence is great because it gets you out of the boat. That's the cool thing about confidence. It can get you out of the boat and it can get you going in the right direction. But confidence can't get you all the way, because confidence might get you some of the way, but then all of a sudden something comes in your mind of like, maybe I can't make it. Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I'm not this. Maybe I'm not that. And you see that even you can have all the confidence in the world that, man, I'm great. I'm this, I'm that. I can do it. Confidence might not work after a while, right? And that confidence and that Peter had when he stepped out of that boat was short-lived. By the time he took a few more steps, he began to sink. And notice what his eyes were on. His eyes wasn't on Jesus, but his eyes were on everything around him. He saw the waves. He heard the waves. Right? He saw the boat moving away from him. And when he looked at everything else, then he started to sink. Right? All of his confidence began to get shattered. Right? Because that's what happens when you have confidence. It's great, get you out of the boat. But after a few steps, in confidence, you start seeing everything around you. And pretty soon, the confidence that you once had could start dwindling quite a bit. But notice that what Jesus says to Peter after he grabs him, right? He says, "O you of little faith, why did you doubt?" And notice what Jesus does. He stretches out his hand and says, "Hey, dude, grab me. Look at me." When someone stretches out their hand at you and says, "Take it." I don't know if you've ever been drowning before, but we've all been kids and we've all probably been in the water before, and you felt like you were kind of not doing too good, and your dad might have stuck his hand out to get you, and you just grabbed him, boom, held him real tight. And when he did, you were riveted on him, man. You weren't looking to the right or to the left. You were straight onto your pop or whoever it was that had a hold of you, the safety, and so Jesus puts Peter in a position where he has to just look right at him and focus. And this is where what can help us out in life is confidence will always get you so far, and then you need to look to something greater, even greater than you in your ability. You need to look at someone who has the total ability, the total package. Someone who is even greater than you can help you get to the other side. And there is going to be a jump to come for all of us. And what I mean by getting to the other side is there's going to be a time where this body is going to fail us. It's not going to work no matter how much confidence you have in the body. It is not going to work. And that's just the fact, Jack, right? And so at that point, God reaches out his hand, and are you going to grab it, right? And be riveted on the one who can get you to the other side. You can focus on everything else in the world, and there's a lot of distractions in the world. There's a lot of things that are there just to waste your time, right? And your effort. And the trick is to get away from those things, or get those things minimized in your life, so that you focus on the thing you need to focus on to get you to the other side. You can focus on your ability, and that will get you far. Believe me, it will get you in shape. It'll get you looking awesome. It'll get you, making money and doing those things as it has in all of our lives. Me, not with professional sports, of course, but other areas, and you, obviously, with hockey. And so, but that's only going to get you so far, and we all know that. So it's like, now who are you riveted to get you to the other side? And that other side is certainly going to come to fruition when we shed the body and it's time to move on. And so, remember that, and hopefully some of these principles make sense to you and they go, whoa, man, that's cool, man. I can look to God, and God will get me to the other side. And that's what God's job is to do, is to get you to the other side. And even when you're doing great and that confidence is helping you out, that's awesome. That's what confidence is there to do. But when you find a lack of confidence, don't be bummed so much and look around. That's bringing you down, because that's what's happening. Is you're looking around and you're seeing everything else and you're comparing yourself to others and you're da-da-da-da-da, all those things, and you're getting fearful. Instead, you got to be riveted onto Christ. It's about you and your walk with God. The rest is all peripheral. It's all just there. It's all going to fly by too. And either we're going to be distracted or we're going to be focused. So hopefully that was a good little chapel time for you guys. And I always love doing it. It's late at night here, but wherever you're at, I hope you're healthy and you're thinking. And I hope to see you guys soon, okay? Take care.